What is up, Bucs Nation? It is Wednesday, March 20th, the eve of tourney time, and you're watching the Loose Cannons podcast. I'm your boy Sammer, hanging out with Poppy Latte. We are short one stank bastard, but we have gained one Dr. Pless of Real Bucs Talk because of that. Pless, welcome back to the show. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's March Madness, like you said, and the Buccaneers have been pretty active over the last couple of weeks. So it's awesome to be a Bucs fan right now and be back on here with you guys.
Hell yeah. Yes, definitely been active. That's what the show is about. Latte is back. Second show since the free agent signing. I'm glad you're still in the building. We're still working, man. I'm excited, dude. So the Bucs
Well,
made some
it's
moves. Go ahead, Latte.
I just want to say it's interesting this free agency, and I love Pless's breakdown of the free agent signings of the Loose Cannons, the contract that I signed, as well as Stank Bastard's 11-month contract. It wasn't 12-month. Love to get his breakdown on that, but it's interesting this free agency because Stank is not here, Pless is, and it's almost like we upgraded. Did we upgrade?
Yeah.
It's almost like when Jameis left and Brady came in.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
could
know.
say that. I
There's
mean,
the one piece that could put us over the top, bro. I don't know.
you think Stank was really a 5,000-yard passer though? Yeah.
No, he has some hitters, bro, but then he turns it over and fumbles it and dribbles down his leg. So that
Yeah.
he does have some hitters though. He does.
Yeah. Speaking of hitters, the Bucs ended up moving Carlton Davis, right? Carlton Davis is shipped off to Detroit. Now all of a sudden there's a massive hole at corner in the fans' mind, at least, because no one's looking at McCollum and saying that guy's our starter. But the Bucs so far have said that, and it seems to be the implication, whether that's true or not. It is smoke season, so who knows? But
He was a starter last year, pretty much.
yeah, he was. But how much faith we have versus how much faith the coaching staff has are two different things. So the Bucs over the last week and a half have focused a little bit more on the secondary, bringing in guys from the Jets and the Texans. Plus, I'd love to hear what you think of these two pieces that we've already signed. They're cornerbacks. One, I believe, is a nickel specifically. What do you think in terms of what they bring to the team? Are they depth? Could they possibly push for starting position? And how good can these guys be, and how much are they kind of an upgrade over what we've had depth-wise over the last couple seasons?
Yeah, I think they're legitimate, quality options as far as depth goes. Guys that have started before, Bryce Hall started all of 2021 season for the Jets. Then the Jets ended up, obviously drafting a very stud corner in Sauce Gardner. And then they also have the other guy, I think it's DJ something. I forget his last name. So, but again, he was a guy that was starting and then got pushed down to the third corner. And he can just be a solid option to push Zion McCollum to earn that starting job. Or if he can overtake Zion and end up being the starter, that's a bonus for your team. Still very young. I think he's only 26 years old, so he has still some good upside to his game. And he fits the scheme well. He plays, very good in zone coverage. That's something that the Buccaneers are doing a lot more of. It's probably why Carlton Davis got traded, and plus the injuries that Carlton was dealing with. It was just time to move on, plus the contract. And you get another top 100 pick. I think that's called a win-win for the Buccaneers. And then Tavier Thomas from Houston, he's more of your nickel guy. He does have some versatility to play outside if needed, but I think he's going to push Christian Izien to keep that nickel job. So that is just what you want. You want these guys to come in, push who's on the team currently, and if either they make them better, or B, they take their jobs, and it's a win situation for the Buccaneers either way. And you get better by doing so. So I think what Jason and his team are doing so far is they're just doing it the right way. Like, you can't argue for the moves that they've done so far. It's been really positive, and you hope that it continues to work out this way.
I couldn't agree more. We got on and talked about it, but I would love your thoughts. Plus, the star signing, the return of a Buck that won a Super Bowl with us, Jordan Whitehead, man. What kind of upgrade is that at safety, considering what we had before? It's a secondary piece, Sammer. What are you looking at? What's the problem?
No, he was so massive. I gave him his own topic. That's why.
Bucks. Oh wait. Oh, he's down there. My
Yeah.
bad. I didn't see him.
Well, that because I was going to piggyback off what he was saying, or Plus was saying. I was going to ask him, do you think Carlton or not Carlton? Do you think the Bucks were playing more zone because of McCollum having to play and because of these backup pieces kind of seeing more playing time because of those injuries to Carlton and also to Jamel over and over again back and forth, and also the fact that Ryan Neal wasn't very good back there? Or do you think they're actually is Todd Bowles scheming his defense to play more zone now as opposed to what he's done in the past, or was that because they had no choice and now they bring in some guys that I think play both pretty well?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture. I think it's the lack of the four-man pressure, not being able to generate pressure with just four. Most of the time you have to send extra guys on blitzes. So there's a lot more concepts where, you're doing your zone fire blitzes, mixing up your looks, playing a little bit more off coverage. And to his credit, that suits better for Zion and company because Zion is really good at click and close, coming downhill, playing that type of way. He can also play man if needed, but I think the guys were more comfortable playing zone. And also, you talked about it with Ryan Neal. I think his game and just the way he was so up and down, throughout the season. Obviously, had a tough year picking up the defense. It just didn't work out the way that the Buccaneers wanted to, and you weren't getting that consistent pressure from your front as far as your four guys up there.
Latte.
No, I was just going to make a statement really quick. I apologize, guys, that I'm a little bit all over the place with the subject stuff. I cannot breathe. Fuck pollen. My eyes are about to pop out of my head.
It
and
sucks.
I've been down to the count at home for 48 hours because of pollen. Like
Pelagic and pollen.
Stupid little fucking, fairy dust has taken a grown man out. It's ridiculous. Sorry.
You sure it's fairy dust? I thought that was something completely different. I don't think that's a street name for pollen. Nose dust.
Nose dust. Oh,
yeah,
man.
It's got me bleeding out of my face. Plus, one thing that does scream off when I watch some of the highlights and tape from these two guys is they're very fast and they're very athletic, both of them, which is a little bit different than, not to say Carlton was slow or Jamel Dean is slow, but they seem, I don't know, they seem to bring a little bit more juice back there. So, when they get their hands on the ball, they have a potential to bring it all the way back, but they also should be able to keep up with some of these smaller, faster, twitchier guys that have kind of, given us some headaches over the last couple seasons.
Yeah, I think both of them. Bryce Hall, I think, is a good athlete. He's got the size, typical, Todd Bowles corner that can play different ways. He can play press if needed, or he can play back in zone. And then with Tavierre Thomas, he's more of just really instinctual, knows where to be on the field. I think that's a good thing. Can play a little bit of man, good in zone coverage, coming downhill. Also, both of these guys are very good tacklers. So I think that's a huge identity thing that they were looking at or theme they're trying to address, because tackling has been an issue. And now you add a guy who can, both of them really can, tackle, wrap up well. That helps your run defense. They're not afraid to get, into the pile there. So I think that's a huge upgrade for your defense, and getting back to that number one run defense, I think, is a priority.
Always has been. I don't want to bring it up because it's a subject that's two subjects down there, but it's why Jordan White.
Go ahead.
Huge upgrade.
Let's do it. Let's talk about him. Fuck it.
Huge fucking up.
I'll jump right to it, and we'll go back to the second one. There you go. Jordan Whitehead, massive upgrade.
Massive upgrade, not just in the secondary, not just communication-wise, plus, not just that he knows the system, but shit, man. Sammer had mentioned it before when we were all, politicking and trying to get the Bucs to re-sign him, and Sammer put the highlights out there. Like, I will never forget. Actually, Jason retweeted it, and he said, I will never forget the two hits in the NFC Championship. Huge. I mean, without those hits, we don't win that game probably. Right. Not afraid to bring the hats to the party, not afraid to lay the wood. He's just a presence back there, and not reckless, right? We had Neal, the Falcons guy. What was his name? The Gator guy. He can bring the wood, but not as accurate sometimes, or not as good in coverage. Jordan Whitehead is not good, solid all the way around. He may not be Antoine Winfield in coverage, but he is solid all the way around. I'm happy as fuck to have him back, specifically in the run game. We have been lacking that. The way he was an extra linebacker in there, man, was just nuts.
Not only that, Latte, he's actually gotten better. Going to a different system playing against a different quarterback, playing against a different set of offenses within a division, they make you better or they make you worse. He's grown, he's gotten better. I think he's understood his deficiencies by going to a different system, having to learn to be better at coverage and do things differently than what he did with Todd Bowles. Now you bring him back, and not only is he improved, a little bit more polished and a little bit older, so now you get a little bit more leadership in that room, but you get back what you were missing, which was physicality in the secondary. I love Antoine Winfield, but he's not going to be able to do that across 4 or 5 positions on his own. Now you're bringing a guy who has that physicality, can come down here, can play in the box. You can interchange them in terms of stopping the run. Now you can bring Winfield and be more exotic with him because you don't have to worry so much about the run because you got a guy who can do that behind him. And on top of that, he knows how to play with Antoine, and he knows what Todd Bowles likes to do. He loves Todd Bowles' system. He spoke a ton about it in his press conference. So I'm most excited, and why I call it massive is because he upgrades what we had, but he also allows Winfield to be better, which is crazy to think because I thought he was pretty freaking good. But now he could be a lot better because there's going to be more freedom back there, and he covers his ass and does his job. We've said it all season. If you just be average back there and just do your job, you are going to be great because of how good Antoine is. Love to hear what Plus thinks on how big that move is to bring him back and how he actually has improved, because I'm assuming there's going to be some film breakdown of his Jets time coming soon to Real Bucs Talks YouTube page.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're big fans of Jordan. I mean, ever since he was drafted in 2018 in the 4th round, like, this is a guy that we definitely targeted back then, and as far as draft coverage, and just talking about him, like, he's just steady. Like, he knows what his role is. He knows how to, play within the system. Yeah, he's gonna, have opportunities where he goes for that big hit, and sometimes he lands it, sometimes he misses. So there is going to be some misses here or there, but the beauty of it is he's going to have Antoine back there to help him, and that allows him to play more free. And the same thing with, Winfield. So it's a vice versa partnership, really dynamic duo that's going to be really exciting to see how they're implemented. Jordan's not going to have to worry about being taken off the field now because of his improvements in coverage. I think that's going to help him play even more, and which is awesome. And he just brings that reliable presence back there, whether it's in the box or, playing back deep. So it's going to be a lot of fun just watching both of them back again together. And yeah, it really helps out this defense because I think that was missing since he's been gone, for the Bucs defense, that is. And it's a huge piece brought back, and it just lets this defense operate like it needs to, because really the strengths are up the middle for this defense. You have Vita Vea, you have Kalijah Kancey, Levante David behind that, then Winfield and Jordan Whitehead. And that's what the defense plays to. It's not, a defensive lineman getting all the plays or all the tackles. It's the linebackers, it's the safeties. That's what it's made for. It's made for these guys to go out there and make plays. And you got really good players in those positions to do so.
Yeah, a big part of it, too, it was no coincidence that when Sue and Whitehead leave, the run defense that was so touted for so many years drops significantly, and not even to say that they just weren't good consistently. They just, at moments, you could see where they needed Jordan Whitehead to do what Jordan Whitehead did, which was he kind of just always roamed around the line of scrimmage, and Todd knew how to use him so damn well. So I'm glad to see him back because I think it instantly upgrades that run defense, even with the departure of one Devin White, which is crazy to think considering he's the middle fucking linebacker on this defense. Mm-hmm. But Jordan Whitehead, I think, like, we're getting a better version of Jordan Whitehead, and I thought he was really good here. And like you said, he didn't get to stay on the field as much because they did want to try to figure out how to get Edwards on there, who was a ball hawk and the opposite of him. But I believe Jordan Whitehead had 3 picks against Josh Allen in one game this past season. Mm-hmm. So I believe those hands have been fixed.
He's gotten better with the hands back there. But I agree with what Sammer said and Pless said. The strength of this team as it relates on the defensive side of the ball is you knew they were going to make everyone one-dimensional. When Sue and Jordan Whitehead were here, you knew. I mean, I do a lot of fantasy football stuff. You guys know we do a fantasy football podcast. Tony had to take a break. I had to take a break. A lot of fucking shit going on, okay, guys? We got lives, fathers and stuff, okay? I'm saying a lot of shit. And pollen. But
lots of pollen.
It's like the running joke, right? All the fantasy football podcasts I listen to, and plus I think you play and you probably listen to a couple as well. If your running back's facing the Bucs, when we had Sue and Whitehead, it was like, don't start him. Just don't start him. Don't start him. I mean, there was a run where we shut down like Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, like Derrick Henry, like boom, back to back to back, where you just weren't going to do anything against the Bucs. I miss those days. I know that it's a passing league, but to make a team one-dimensional is absolutely an advantage. And then when Todd can get creative and send those blitzes, that's when you're cooking with grease.
Yeah, man. Big thing too, Latte, is when you bring him down to stop the run, you can now keep Antoine Winfield back there to play the pass. When we'd bring Antoine Winfield to help with that run defense, we had Ryan Neal back there. And if you brought him to stop the run,
Kyle Pitts against Atlanta, right? Where I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I personally blame him for that loss. No joke. That pass.
No, that was his fault. That was his fault.
That's his fault. And so I'm not saying Jordan Whitehead's not going to make a mistake, but I will bet that Jordan Whitehead will be in the right spot most of the time when he's supposed to be. And so that's the dependability that you need back there in a guy who doesn't have to be special. But I think he has the potential to be special because he's so good in that run defense. He's so good at tackling. Hopefully he doesn't do too much of those hip drop tackles, which are apparently going to become illegal at some point. But massive upgrade. I'm glad that we jumped over an entire topic for this man.
Listen, I did it. I'm back, second show, and I just said, fuck it. I'm pulling an audible here. But listen, Sammer, just to piggyback smallly on what you said, Bill Belichick, who's getting dragged right now because of Dynasty and whatever. You know, he got players coming out and defending him about it. But one of his favorite things to say, do your job. Just do your job. And you know one thing. He may not be Antoine, right? But Jordan Whitehead's going to do his fucking job, and you can rely on him. All of the 10 guys on that field know he's going to be where he's supposed to be. And when you know that, again, you're cooking with grease, man, because you're not worried about, Antoine's not overcompensating this way because, and you're not thinking about that. I'm thinking about my assignment. So do your fucking job. And Jordan Whitehead is the epitome of that, and he lays the wood.
We won a Super Bowl with a bunch of guys in 2002 that were just doing their job. Shelton Corrals doing his job. Greg Spires doing his job. Rondé Barber started off by just a guy doing his job. Okay? That's a massive part of a defense. You got to have the Robert Ory's on the defense or on any football team to win games that matter. And I feel like that's a slight, but it's not because Robert Ory has a bunch of rings, folks. So, big shot Rob. He called him that for a reason. But, yeah, dude, listen, Latte, I'm shaking your hand right now, virtually. Round of applause, everything, for letting us skip over an entirely boring segment of offensive line talk so we can talk about Jordan fucking Whitehead. I hope he's watching and understands just how much we love him. We have never, in the history of this show, we have never once skipped topics since we started this whole topic bar. We have never once skipped a topic. Not once. I've actually muted Stank for attempting to skip a topic, but we just allowed it tonight because it was necessary. The veto power was there. It had to be done. Jordan fucking Whitehead, wearing number 3 now, by the way, absolutely deserved the topic skip.
Hey, we got a super chat, though. This one's for Dr. Pless from Pelagian Computer, Loose Cannon's Hall of Famer. Says, Dr. Pless, with where we stand currently during free agency, would you think edge, inside offensive line, and cornerback will be addressed within the first 3 or 4 picks? Give us your picks. I'll hang up and listen.
Oh, we're going to the 4th topic basically now.
Handsome devil. Handsome devil, he said at the end.
Yeah, we'll just go right into the 4th topic. Fuck it.
Hey, listen, fuck fat guys, bro. They're just fat guys.
No, we're going back. We're going back because I need to know. There's one of them that's a massive human being that we need to talk about. But we'll go. Let's go ahead and answer that question. Do you think the Bucs will go edge, inside offensive lineman, and cornerback in the first 3 or 4 picks?
Yeah, I think those are the positions they're definitely going to be looking at now. As far as which order, I mean, I think any of those positions set up well for the first round. I really believe that one of those top edges could fall to 26. If that is the case, that they probably go that direction because I think edge is probably their biggest need right now. Unfortunately, in free agency, there's not really a lot available. I think you can wait till after the draft, let those prices drop and see if you could add a veteran if you don't come away with a quality edge in the draft. Now, interior offensive line has been a big topic, and obviously, Graham Barton. You look at Jackson Powers Johnson.
Sorry,
no, you're fine.
Somebody said I did 2 lines of pollen and I've got off the handles.
Yeah, that yellow dust.
I did a pollen 8 ball. Sorry, go ahead.
That yellow dust is a hell of a drug.
It is. It is. No. So yeah, I mean, if I had to pick right now, as far as obvious, I would say probably Graham Barton with the first pick. Edge would probably be your second pick with Marshawn Nealon. Third pick, probably a corner like Max Melton, maybe out of Rutgers, or Andrew Phillips from Kentucky. I think those would be, logical picks. But we'll see. I mean, it's tough because really that first domino in round one that really sets up everything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely feel like those positions are going to be considered. You can add receiver into that mix as well. I think that will be considered, especially within the top 3 rounds, for sure.
Especially after losing Hall of Fame David Moore today to the Carolina Panthers. Okay, so that's a big deal.
Right. People are attacking me, by the way. I wasn't. I just said it stings a little bit. Okay, fucking relax, people. I didn't make a post like he's Mike Evans. I put we can't keep them all. Hashtag it stings. Like fuck.
Listen, that was the most important
game because of him. He was huge.
He was the most important wide receiver on my free agency list for this year. I'm sorry, but that was the one guy that I was not going to be happy losing.
Plus, you mentioned Barton and SR Scott Reynolds. By the way, he rarely wrong. He's very well connected. And Sammer knows this as well because Sammer's kind of well connected. Not kind of, he is well connected. But he brought up a scenario, right? And I would love your opinion. You put the Jason Light hat on, right?
Yeah.
Barton and JPJ are sitting there. What you doing?
I think you go with Jackson Powers Johnson because I think he's the prospect that could instantly go inside because he's already played it. I know Graham Barton has experience playing some center. I think he played guard a little bit as well. I mean, both are really good prospects, both athletic. They have, ability to play either scheme, whether that's zone or power, good in pass protection. Really, they're the complete package. Personally, I feel like Jackson Powers Johnson's the better player right now. So I would go with him. I would try to trade up if he becomes within reach, a trade up could definitely take place where they go after him and you put him as the starting center, over Robert Hainsey.
Hainsey can play too. So
personally, the only offensive lineman worth the first round pick for me in terms of our range would be JPJ, but I'm I understand what Scott Reynolds is saying, but if there's an edge guy there's no way you just ignore that massive need on the defense and not take the edge. If Verse is there, or if Latu falls, or if Chop Robinson is there, like you look at those guys, you say I can find a guard / center or center / guard in the second round, in the third round even, and that's something that Jason's really good at. If I'm going to take Barton at that point, and that's the only best of hell, I think you trade down a little bit. But
I don't mind Scott Reynolds' start, though, bro.
No, I get it.
Nealon is a fucking monster.
No, I get it. I mocked him tons of times. I get it. I've watched the tape. I was like, holy shit, this guy's amazing. But at the end of the day, if you have a better edge rusher in the first round available, I feel like you got to take it because the other positions are more flexible and easily found. Because I think the Bucs free agency, into the topic that we have skipped, have allowed them to be more fluid and kind of more of an amoeba at that 26th position or maybe lower, because now they've kind of addressed and hedged their bets across every one of these needs other than edge. So I got to know about these two offensive linemen. Plus, the one dude who came from the Giants is a massive human being. And then the other day they also added an offensive lineman who started games for the Eagles. I believe both of them have center / guard experience. So again, hedging your bets. How are these guys supposed to translate to this team? Could one of these guys end up being a starter, or are they more or less going to be depth or pieces to push rookies or pieces to bridge towards a rookie who comes in maybe later in the season or in his second season in the league next year?
Right. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think they're definitely upgrades over what you had last year in Aaron Stinney, upgrades over Matt Filer. Obviously Nick Leverett left to the Patriots. So I think they're definitely improvements, not only depth-wise, but they do have potential to start if needed. I think Ben Bredesen from the Giants, I think he's going to push Robert Hainsey for that center position. Or the guard position. So really he can play both. And then as far as Sua Opeta from the Eagles, I think he's probably more in line for that left guard spot. If they don't find a quality rookie, which they probably will, to challenge these guys. But at the very least, they're your backup guard and center, and you already improved from that. Like as a complete offensive line unit, You're much deeper. You're much more flexible, and you're just better overall. So I think that's a big part. And again, it continues to go the theme of this offseason, and that is building depth. And that's something that Jason Light talked about. It's something he did in 2020 when he had a good free agency. That, at that point, obviously bringing this team together, adding depth pieces. And you can do that now because you do have salary cap room to make things happen. And shout out to Mike Greenberg. That guy's a wizard. Make sure you keep him as long as you can because he's really good.
He's not going anywhere.
I don't think he wants to go anywhere. Honestly, I don't think he ever wants to be anything but that guy.
He's he's a great spot, man. Him and Jackie Davison, do a great job, and they're underneath a brilliant GM and Jason Light who, treats them so well and obviously has much respect for both of them. So yeah, I think, keep that trio together as long as possible.
Yeah, Spytek is a monster.
Yeah, Spytek. Spytek's probably the most logical to get a GM spot in the next couple of years. I mean, he's ready to be a GM for sure. Like any one of them probably could be a GM if they wanted to, go for that.
Frenchie here says, or give Jose Ramirez a shot. I think Jose Ramirez is going to get some burn this year. I don't think they can fully go into the season relying on him. I can tell you that Sam and I got text messages the night of the draft when they drafted him immediately, and he was like, check out this guy's 10-yard split or 3-yard split, whatever his cone. Like, look at all his numbers. Yeah. He's an athletic freak. They were high on him. They're excited about him, but
Marquise Watts, Jose Ramirez,
Marquise Watts as well. But
both of those guys are
relying on them, but they're going to get some burn and they're going to get an opportunity this year.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know what I like, man, is that they looked at Baker Mayfield and they said, what was the biggest thing that bothered him this season, which bothers a lot of quarterbacks, and that's pressure right in your face, right in the middle. And me and Latte spoke about it. Yeah, Latte and I spoke about it. He brought it up. He said, this is similar to what they're doing with Bryce Young in Carolina, same type of thing. If we can eliminate that pressure right up his face, which is focus on these guard positions. And listen, people have Cody Mock, obviously, for good reason, circled as the right guard. But these guys that come in could still push him to be better. Like, you still need to put some sort of fire under these guys' asses, especially when they get a little bit better and they've improved. You don't want them to rest back on their laurels. You want them to continue to burn and continue to drive. And I think that's what these two guys do. And then, you're not almost handcuffed to starting a guy like Fiedler like they were last year now, right? Because now, again, like we talked about, how do these moves affect the draft? They're more flexible now. They don't have to reach for any one of these positions, in my opinion, and they can just kind of let the best player come and just address those things. And listen, it's not Jason's first rodeo finding an offensive lineman in the
right. NFL
draft. So aside from having to pick a guy like Tristan Wirfs in the first round as high as he did, we built them all kind of picking them and like I think JC on Fully Loaded said something like you could find him in a butcher house or something like that.
Find him in a butcher shop in Idaho.
In Idaho, yeah. It's like he just finds these guys, right? And there's tons of dudes who are big, beefy motherfuckers who can block in this draft.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. And, the biggest thing that this does in relation to the draft, it just allows Jason to be very flexible and open. So it gives you opportunities if you do want to trade up, if you want to trade down, if you want to stay put, all those things are in play, especially if a certain prospect, like we talked about, an edge like Jared Verse or Latu from UCLA let's say they fall to 19 or 20 or even get into that low 20 range. Definitely, that's an option now where you can be aggressive and go get one of these guys to really improve your team. Same thing goes with Graham Barton and Jackson Powers Johnson, who both could easily be top 25 picks because they're that good, like really good offensive linemen that can come in and start day one. And it's hard to find those type of players, especially at 26, guys that are just, ready from the get-go, NFL bodies, ready to play. But with that said, like you said, second and third round, that's the money round for Jason Light as far as offensive line. And there's plenty of guys to choose from. You look at, Zach Frazier, Christian Haynes, Christian Mahogany from Boston College.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
You got a ton of options. Dominic Puny from Kansas.
You also got the center from Georgia, who's an absolute stud.
Cedric Van Pran. Yeah, definitely. So there's plenty of options out there. I really like Mason McCormick from South Dakota State. That just sounds like a Jason Light pick.
That's a Jason Light pick, dude. I'm telling you.
Yeah, special.
Yeah,
but
it's
my
that guy.
My thing is Pless, and why this conversation started with Sam on the phone was, if JPJ is there, man, I think he's just too special.
That's the guy you
not
can't pass up. I agree with you. Go ahead.
not just from a physical standpoint, but tone setting, culture. Like you were missing Red on that offensive line. That, I mean, he is. I hate to compare him to that, but he is Red. And the full context of the conversation was Baker's not that tall a guy, right? Most quarterbacks don't like pressure up the middle. Brady didn't like pressure up the middle, but being shorter makes that even worse. As a matter of fact, that playoff game ended because of pressure up the middle, and Baker should have never thrown that ball. I'm not saying it was right, but it was pressure up the middle.
Mm-hmm.
He was a line. He kind of tried to make a play. I think Baker at times can be special and extend the play and do things. But I think if you can limit that, where he can be special when he has to be, where last year Minnesota rings the bell a bunch of times where he had to, run out of the pocket because pressure immediately out the middle and then go get a first down. And that's where you get those shoulder injuries and you get banged up in the rim injuries. If you can protect him and he can stay in the pocket and have a clean pocket in the middle of him and not have pressure at the middle, for me, it's JPJ all the way, man. Go fucking trade up for the guy. I don't give a shit. I know there's depth. Give me the slam dunk prospect. I understand, plus you guys know that there's Frazier and the Boston Cup. Give me the slam dunk guy. All right. I don't want to fuck around with Jaden Daniels. I don't want to mess around with this. Give me Caleb. I don't even like Caleb attitude-wise, but you know what I mean. Give me the number one guy. If you can get him, go get the number one prospect that you can plug and play.
The thing, Latte, though, is that there's too many teams ahead of us that would take him in a heartbeat. That I don't see a scenario for me getting excited about him being there because he just will not.
I'm seeing more mocks where he's falling a little bit, dude.
Yeah, but we'd have to really
just. There's a lot of talent in this fucking draft.
But can the Bucs give up? Can the Bucs give up enough to go get a guy like that and be okay giving up those pieces on a team where you need some pieces?
Plus, that's my thing. What did it cost to move up a couple spots when we drafted Worst?
They would have to move past the Eagles, dude. The Eagles are not going to pass on him if he's there. That's my thing.
Yeah. I mean, well, for worse, we only moved up one spot, so we gave up a fourth round pick for that to move up one.
We have 2 third rounders. Just saying.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's definitely possible. I think there is a legit path for Jackson Powers Johnson to fall to 26. I just feel like because there's so many other positions, especially offensive tackle. I think offensive tackle, corner, receiver, those positions are going to be highlighted, especially for the teams in front of us. You start with Pittsburgh, they always love to get corners. They love to get,
but he's a Pittsburgh. He looks like a Pittsburgh Steelers center too, man. That's the thing.
he does. But they also have a need at offensive tackle, and there's a lot of good corner. There's a lot of good offensive tackles. They could probably use another receiver as well because they just traded Deontay Johnson. So there's opportunities, there for guys like that to fall. Graham Barton is, talk around the leagues is he's actually higher viewed than Jackson's Power Johnson. Now, again, I don't know how true that is, but again, that's just the word going around the league that Graham Barton, of his tape and his versatility, it's just putting him a little bit higher. But
do you think they would draft him to be a guard and slowly move to center, or would they let him go and compete and figure it all out in camp?
He's Ali Marpet 2.0. He'll stay.
I think guard would. Yeah, guard would probably be his best bet. Not saying he can't play center.
I think he has.
He has played center. So definitely an option there. But like I was saying, I just feel like there's these other positions. There's going to be a lot of receivers, a lot of offensive tackles. We're going to get probably 6 quarterbacks in the top 20 picks, which would be crazy.
Wait.
Those runs.
I made a bet.
Those runs are going to happen. Sorry, I was going to say those runs are going to happen to Pless's point, where you just all of a sudden all the receivers start flying off, and all of a sudden these guys fall. I find it hard to believe that the best offensive lineman in the entire draft is going to fall. Go ahead, Latte. You had a bet about what?
The best interior offensive line, not the best offensive lineman. I mean,
best interior offensive lineman. My bad.
Right.
I have a bet with Collegiate Computer that I think I'm going to fucking lose it now. I bet him that Bo Nix would not go in the first round.
Okay.
I don't like the way you said okay there. You think?
Hey,
I mean, quarterbacks. These quarterbacks.
I bet him around the golf.
Sean Payton fucking loves that guy.
He's not taking him at 10 or 11. Where the fuck they are
So
right
let's just list off the quarterbacks. Obviously, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. Then you add in JJ McCarthy. All those guys are going in the top 10.
100%.
And then the other 2 wild cards is Bo Nix and Michael Penix. And I think they have a real shot to go in that range of 11 through, 13. Definitely, it's depending on, obviously Minnesota is going to try to trade up and get into that top 5. So it just depends on, what's the next team. But like Sammer said, I mean, Bo Nix and Sean Payton, I think that is definitely a fit. Michael Penix, same thing. So you have to look at those.
I can see Bo Nix as a Viking on top of that too. If they don't
Right.
get JJ McCarthy and they don't have to trade up and get him, or if the Broncos end up getting him, I don't know, man. Like I'm telling you, Latte, you know who told me this, so it's a real thing. Sean Payton loves him some Bo Nix, like loves him only because of the fact that he's so much older. He thinks that's better for him, and he just likes the way he plays ball. And hey, I'm not saying it's a smart thing to do, but Sean Payton's a fucking idiot. You never know. That might be his guy.
I don't like him. I don't like him at all, and he looked like shit going against Penix. I don't like him.
I'm not saying. Hey, listen. I liked him leading up to that game, and then he had that game, and I was like, man, this is not how I want to see this guy who I've been telling people is going to be a good quarterback, and I changed my mind on him. And so I agree with you. I don't think he should be, but I can see, dude, Mitch Trubisky was drafted one time for literally no reason, okay? Kenny Pickett was drafted for literally no reason other than being Pittsburgh.
There were no other quarterbacks in those classes. They
didn't need to do that, dude. They didn't need to do that. The kid who played for Florida State, the Bills drafted him for no reason. Go ahead.
Let him finish talking.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I mean, you look at this league, it's teams that have quarterbacks and it's teams who don't. And that's why these quarterbacks get picked higher than they should be. Like Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, Penix, those guys should be second round or later picks, but they're not going to be because again, teams value quarterbacks so much that this is what happens. You push them up the board and it's the most important position in football and you got to have it. So that's where I think there's a real shot of certain players falling down the board to the Buccaneers because premium positions at quarterback, offensive tackle, receiver, cornerback, all of those are really looked at. Yeah.
That was a first-round pick. Christian Ponder was a first-round pick, dude. I was a Florida State fan. I was like, what? How does he even in the NFL at all?
My point, the Tennessee Titan guy was in that draft too, that he ended up not loving football.
Malik Willis.
No, not him.
No, before him. Jake Locker.
Even worse. So they did it twice.
But plus, my point that I'm trying to make is that in all the drafts, Sammer, check your phone. In all the drafts that Sammer's mentioning, the Christian Ponder and all these, there were no quarterbacks in those classes. So they had to put lipstick on the pig and make it look nice because there was no other prospects that were worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like if you're a GM, bro, you look at these guys and you're looking at you're studying all these quarterbacks in this draft and you're looking at this guy lined up next to this guy and it's like the fuck no.
But Latte, if enough of them
when
go
you're the
first,
only hot girl in the club, when you're the only girl left, you're gonna look really hot at the end of the night.
I know, but that's the thing though. At 10 or 11 or 12 or 13, you kind of have to pick one of them at that point, right? If there's so like that's where I think they get reached on.
Yeah, even if they don't, let's say they don't pick, whether it's Penix or Bo Nix, and they go a different position. That's kind of my point where they would just transition to offensive tackle, receiver, or cornerback. Because when you look at those guys and compared to the edge group, it's just better. Like there's just better players at those positions than the edge group. Not saying the top guys at edge aren't good. Like Jared Verse, he's a legit prospect. I like him probably. I think Latu is probably my number one edge, and then Verse is right behind him, and then Dallas Turner, after that. But any of those guys, I think, could have a chance of falling because you're looking at these other positions, especially on the offensive side of the ball, where you got to score points in this league, that those are blue chip prospects, especially at offensive tackle and receiver.
Plus, real quick, before we finish up the show, I want to remind everybody out there, if you guys are new, hit the subscribe button. And if you're not new, hit the like button. Hell, all of you hit the like button. We should have 1 billion likes on every single video because we are fucking amazing, honestly. Plus, we don't get
and there are 1 billion people watching the show.
And there's 1 billion people watching this show, so it only makes sense, right? Plus, corner is technically still a need. So I have to ask, could a corner at 26 happen? Could any scenario play out where that could, be the end result? And if that was the case, who would you take, or who would you hope would be the corner that we would be able to grab at 26 that maybe falls to us, that you think is a surefire, walk right into the building and push the envelope, maybe become a starter by the end of camp?
Well, just just looking at the prospects, again, I have to continue to evaluate and scout, just getting into it and trying to finish up obviously before draft week. But the guy that I think would make the most sense if they did take a corner at 26 is probably Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama. He just fits what the Buccaneers do scheme wise. Plays it really well. I know he had kind of a down year this past season, but still he's a very good caliber of corner that could come in and obviously push for a starting job. So I would say he would probably be my number one. If they wanted to trade down and take like a, Ennis Rakestraw from Missouri, I think that would make a lot of sense. But if they're staying at 26, probably Kool-Aid would be the best fit and most likely be available.
So my thing is this. If you look back throughout the years, those first round, really highly sought after corners, they don't really ever pan out, it feels like. Sauce Gardner, one of them did, but it feels like all the other guys in the league have been second, third round guys that come out of nowhere and just become, good corners or really great guys, and they work their way up. So I'm kind of afraid to take a corner at that spot as opposed to an edge rusher because I feel like you can translate a little bit quicker. So in that case, to answer my own question backwards, sort of, I would hope that they end up with a guy like Tampa in the second round or a third round, guys that I think maybe one of those corners or safeties even out of Georgia that are really tied to Todd Bowles and him knowing the defense because of his son playing there and whatnot, as opposed to reaching for a guy. But you think if Kool-Aid drops, Kool-Aid seems like a really good I don't want to say surefire because nothing's 100%, but as close to a surefire as you could be as a corner in this draft.
Yeah, I think he's just a good fit. Like he makes a lot of sense for what the Bucs like to do. He can play, really good in that cover 3 type of role where play zone. He can come up and be physical as well, hand fighter. So I think he would be a logical choice if that's where they wanted to go. But we'll see. I still feel like right now the pick is leaning towards interior offensive line, receiver even, or you're looking at the best edge prospect potentially, falling there to you. Man, or trading up,
Love some Chop Robinson, man. I mean, any one of those
Chop
guys.
Robinson is good. We put a film study of him out today. A lot of speed. He definitely needs to learn how to play with his hands more. But his lower half is like really strong and explosive and knows how to bend the corner really well. So yeah, I think he would be fun. I don't know if he would start right away, but obviously he would help your pass rush grow and be effective, I think, more.
Okay. Latte, nothing?
I got nothing. I'm trying to figure out. Somebody just said I went outside to smoke a bowl of pollen. No, I don't want any part of pollen. And we got a $5 super chat from Grizz saying, as a black man, I want a front row seat for the return of a white cornerback.
Nah, I'm good. No.
Cooper DeJean's really good.
I don't know, man. That seems like a risk.
But I see him as more. I see him more as a hybrid, slot corner or safety. I think he'd be an excellent safety. But he could definitely fit in this scheme. Really good tackling corner that can play the run very well. And would be a very nice selection.
If his last name was McCaffrey or Bosa, I might change my mind. But as of right now, it is not. So I can't.
Hey, stay tuned for that film study that we'll have of him. Like he's just a great player. Really studied athlete, former receiver, great basketball player, and really knows how to play football. So I would not mind that at all.
Real quick, sorry, I know you got to go, Latte. Real quick, last one. The other Robinson, the edge rusher out of Missouri.
I don't like.
Okay, so I was going to ask you about that's because I saw your Twitter interaction earlier today or yesterday possibly, where somebody had mocked him to the Bucs. I listened to his interviews a couple of different times on SiriusXM radio. Kid is smart as hell. He seems like he's all ball, like really focused. Sounds great. And you see some tape, you're like, okay, this kid might be a thing. And then he has a really good combine, but that RAS score does not look good. And you mentioned something about Jason Light and the staff. And I'm assuming you're looking at the RAS scores to help predict who you would go with. Can you expand on that point in like 2 minutes?
Yes. So Yeah, so the RAS score is basically your relative athletic score, and the Buccaneers typically in the first round they get a guy over a 9. So that's what they're looking for, really athletic dudes that have the size, the length, everything to really focus in on that. And you can kind of like hedge your bet on it because for the last several years they picked a guy with a 9 RAS score or better. So that's something to look at. Darius Robinson, I think he would be a great, 5 tech. I just don't really see him as an edge type of dude. I know the potential is there, but I'm not a fan of his game right now. I think if in the second round, sure, yeah, take him all day, but I don't know if I would take a first on him.
For Jonas Steckler's, yes, Jordan Whitehead will be wearing number 3. I only use that graphic.
313, baby.
Yeah, I only use that graphic because it would look better than the one I had done. And yes, he will be wearing number 3. Plus, thank you so much for hanging out. Pelagic Computer, $5 super chat. Sorry, what about Adisa Isaac, possibly a better NFL career than Chop? Yeah, dude, I've heard that argument back and forth between those two that you could get either or. All right, plus answer it in like 60 seconds, please, and then and then let people know where they can follow you for more.
Isaac is good, not the athlete that Chop is, but yeah, he's got game to him, a little bit more developed, I would say, for sure.
All right, sweet. Plus, if you guys like everything Doctor just talked about, and he actually breaks down film and shows you a bunch of cool stuff about the players that are coming up, and also throughout the season, the guys that were actually on the team, go to youtube.com and look up Real Bucs Talk. Awesome channel. That's why we have him on here. Didn't know him before that, obviously. Awesome dude. Plus, awesome stuff today. Thanks for hanging out. Latte, any last words before you go do another line of pollen?
I'm gonna go do it on the pollen, but I'm holding this up because this is the philosophy right here. This is Papa Bruce. You know Bruce, right? Plus, kind of a popular guy around here. Man, won a Super Bowl or changed the culture around here. No risk it, no biscuit. Go get JP fucking J for this offense and stop being bitches. Just go do it, Jason. Go get him, okay? And Jonas, I'm gonna do you one better, bro. I'll get you a signed fucking football. I'm gonna see Bruce this weekend, which brings me to the other subject before we close out. We're gonna do another show and announce the winners for the raffle that are gonna be joining us at the Jason Aldean concert this weekend. It's gonna be the party of the year. I don't know. You want to hang out with Bruce and some players and the GM and some front office people and have shots, and then never mind some other stuff that we can't talk about. It's up to you.
Yeah, I don't know what this Jinping guy is saying, which sounds like a racist term for a username, but I'm not prejudiced, dude. It's a joke. Chill out, all right? Get out of here. Hey, see you guys later this week. We will have to choose that winner, like Latte said, probably tomorrow. So in the meantime, find the GoFundMe. I'll drop it in the description after the show. Go Bucs.